let's transfer to Ted's topic. What do you got for us, Teds?
Oh, well, I'm not as big into the whole excuse me.
How dare you?
Whole
He's
RPG games. I am very much dying. Everybody is.
The wall is falling.
No.
Obviously, I like lots of different genres, and one that I've recently dived back into is the city builder simulation games, and specifically City Skylines, because it has some new DLC coming down. It was announced on the 22nd of this month, but I don't think they've announced the release date on their website itself. It still says release date to be announced. But this is going to introduce a bunch of new assets. I think there's like 350 new buildings and cars and, et cetera, things that you can add to your city. So it's
What's it called?
going to be a hefty. It's Green Cities is the name of it, and it's going to introduce
Hybrid cars.
Eco-friendly. Well, yeah, electric cars, hybrid cars.
I was being facetious.
Oh yeah, that's legit. So in City Skylines, kind of set out to do a Sim City when this most recent Sim City fell on its face, because EA can't manage anything anymore.
Yeah.
Because not even gonna dive in on that rabbit hole. But anyway, City Skylines, there's a lot to it, as you would imagine for city simulators.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I've played it.
Yeah, but one of the things that it lets you do is you can mark out districts in your city, and you can set specific policies for different districts. Policies like no heavy traffic can go through here, so like any of your delivery trucks can't drive through there to get to the commercial buildings. So probably shouldn't put commercial buildings in that district if you have that.
Can you make a policy where all your alien immigrants have to stay in there?
No, but there's a policy that gives you recreational use and allows you to boost up the taxes in that particular district because everybody loves you because you allow recreational use of a certain drug. So some of the policies, like it does kind of give you the freedom to kind of do what you want. And one of the new district policies that they're going to introduce in Green Cities is incentive for them to start driving hybrid and electric cars. And so you'll start to see them more in your city if you have that implemented in I think it has to be in a residential district. I don't think it's going to let you do it for any district. But
it's like as you go along, you unlock more policies. You can they have positives and negatives associated with them.
Yeah. So like in the case of the no heavy traffic, your traffic, because one of the hardest parts about mastering the game is getting your traffic down nice. And I mean, think about any big city.
It is.
You're going to have traffic problems, but sometimes you're just like, I don't wrap my mind around why you guys are having such a hard problem at this particular intersection.
I found bus routes particularly hard.
Yeah, bus routes are hard. Metro lines make things so much nicer once you unlock the metro and can put in subways.
Eat fresh.
One of the most recent big DLC that came out was called Mass Transit, and it actually introduced more buses, I think it gave us trams and blimps as well as the trains and the subways and the buses that were already in the game. But it also and it just flew away from me with mass transit. Oh, with the traffic, that you can now go in and at every single intersection, you can either decide if you want because it used to be certain roads would always give you a red light, and then certain road intersections would always give you a stop sign. You had no control over that. But with the mass transit DLC, it let you now, you can go in there and say, well, this is a 6-lane by 6-lane intersection, but I'm going to put stop signs here instead. Obviously, that's not a good idea. It stops up everything, but you have the option to do that.
God!
But I don't recommend doing that, but you can. So it was really cool that they added that, and so it lets you kind of go in there and if you are having traffic problems, you can really start to tinker around in there. And again, this is one of those games where you can be that micromanaging. If you want to be that micromanaging, you can also just let it do whatever.
Yeah, some people want to build like their perfect city.
Right. But one of the ways that you can avoid
Gotta build the wall around it.
Avoid the traffic like blocking up that way is you're in because if you don't have an industrial sector in your town, any of your commercial buildings are going to have to get their products delivered out of your city because there's a giant highway that goes like through a section of your starting square, because you have like different squares. As you grow, you can buy more squares to increase the size of your city. But then there's this highway that kind of connects your city to the other cities. It's just you're not going to be able to follow it because game design limitations, whatever. But if you don't have an industrial section in town, that's the only way your commercial buildings can get their product and, to be able to actually sell product, to be able to have anything on shelves. And so, like, if you put a commercial building in the middle of your, say, residential area, that all the roads are small, cul-de-sac level roads, but you have that one commercial building, suddenly the semi now has to try to work its way through all of that, either from your industrial area or from the inner city roads. So if your roads are not designed to take a semi truck, you're gonna start getting.
Oh, no, it's real off.
Good God.
Exactly.
Actually, I want to make.
Good.
I was gonna make more mention of this. But this game has received fantastic reviews.
Oh yeah.
It is really good. It's also really smart.
Yeah. I was just reading here, like, they're apparently like the city Stockholm, Sweden, where Paradox's headquarters are. They're the guys who like make this game. Are actually using cities' skylines to plan and simulate a new transportation system. Like,
Yep.
That's freaking phenomenal.
Been used in some city planning courses, like to kind of help to let them kind of see how things will go, because they spent a lot of resources on trying to get down the way that the people are going to move across your city. They will have one house. They will live only because one of the problems with SimCity, pretty much all of them, if you like can follow a person, you'll see that they like stay at one house and then they go to the closest like job in the morning, but then when they get done with their job, they just go to the closest house to quote unquote go home. And so they can like never live in the same house and never work at the same place. Wow. And you're supposed to believe that those are real people, but in City Skylines, it keeps track of every person. And this is a game where at the higher echelons, you are having 100,000 people in your city plus. It starts out low with the 0 population, and as you grow, you'll hit certain milestones to unlock new buildings, unlock new services, etc. But it does keep track of all that. And so one thing I would say about that, it's really smart. And the way, I can't remember exactly how they programmed it all to figure it out, but I watched the thing one time, and it was really interesting and really complex how they because like the cars, they'll take the best routes. It's not that they're taking the shortest, nor are they going to take the fastest. They're going to try to take the best. So maybe there's a route that is shorter and a second route that is technically faster, but if they're having traffic problems, it's going to take this longer, slower route because it's less congested, and for no other reason than it's less congested. All that to say, it can be RAM intensive.
I could think so.
It recommends 4 gigabytes of RAM.
Ooh.
I got the game when I had 4 gigabytes of RAM, and it would stutter without me crossing the 5,000 person mark. It recommends 6 gigabytes. I would recommend 8, especially if you start getting all the different DLCs.
Yeah, I don't think I ever had an issue with my 12. So.
Yeah, I've had no problem since I upgraded to 8 gigabytes. So that being said, these days you can buy 4 gigabyte sticks for what, $25. So
it's pretty cheap nowadays.
Yeah, it's not that big a deal to upgrade if you had to. But some of the DLCs that they've dropped have added some interesting things. It didn't initially have like a day-night cycle. So the first big DLC that they dropped introduced that. And one of the things that I really like about
didn't it also not have disasters as well, like random disasters?
No, it didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the later ones. And of course, because everybody like Sin City
Everyone
that was like
wants those.
always in it. Yeah, it's fun to watch a tornado come through and destroy your city, even though you've got to go back and rebuild it, and you realize like you've killed off like 500 people and everything. But
You
hey,
work in mysterious ways, man. You work in mysterious ways.
Absolutely. But one of the things I really like about what Paradox is doing. So After Dark introduced the day-night cycle, but it also introduced a few new buildings, and it allowed you, because initially your industry, you could either just do general industry, or you could zone for, I think it was just farming, oil, and logging. I think those are the three that it started off with, besides just general. But After Dark started allowing you to zone commercial areas for leisure. So, like, you could have casinos, you could have a sauna. I think it was one of the produced. So you could start zoning your commercial things for specific areas. But one of the cool thing was, though, Paradox, the day that they dropped, when After Dark went live, they dropped a patch that automatically gave everybody day-night cycles. You did not have to buy After Dark to get access to the day-night cycle.
Oh, very cool.
You still had to buy it if you wanted like the buildings and able to complete the achievements and all that kind of stuff. But the day-night cycle, they just dropped it as a patch. The second big DLC was, and I say big DLCs because they have a bunch of smaller ones that's like, here are 4 new buildings that look Oriental. Here are 4 new buildings that are famous landmarks. So they have a lot of like smaller ones if that kind of thing interests you. But the second big one was called Snowfall, and it introduced snow in winter into your city. So you would have to be able to build a heating infrastructure, or else your city may brown out during the cold times because everybody's using more power during the snow.
Oh, geez.
You would have to set up snowplow services, or else your roads will snow over, and there's that traffic problem we were talking about earlier. You know,
dude, this game gets really in depth. I really like it.
But what they did, again, they dropped another big patch where you got the snow and the winter map for free. You didn't get the snow effects, so you weren't able to get like the heating. You didn't get the snowing to affect your roads unless you bought the DLC. But you still would have where it would sometimes start snowing or sometimes start raining. Cinematic quality of life change. But it was really cool that they still took some of the core components of these DLCs and just for free, just as an update. And I really like that. I really like that approach.
Yeah, it seems like a pretty good marketing thing, actually. Like if all your DLCs are built upon a thing, and like you hand out that thing so people want to use the DLC.
Yep.
Yeah. It's like, I know, like somebody might think like, it's like, oh well, those aren't that big. They're just adding in like, either seasons or certain effects. But like, if you really think about it, the amount of infrastructure that it goes into dealing with winter and snowfall, and like how day and night can affect like anything that's going on in a city, is huge. It's phenomenally impactful. And how you set up your city, like, because of a real life example, I think it was actually either Sweden or was it Switzerland, one of the two. They ended up trying to change around how the priority on like how they dealt with snow and what needed to be unplowed first and the like, and for a season to try for whatever reason, and it absolutely devastated. People weren't able to get to their jobs like they're supposed to because they changed around the priorities of what things were supposed to be cleared out and what weren't. And people weren't able to get their jobs. They actually lost their economy. Their whole economy actually dipped for a while just because of that. So these kind of like add-ons are really huge when you look at it from that kind of scope.
Well, and like, so kind of a case in point in the game, example. It took me a little while before I actually picked up the After Dark, but I just played, with the day night because I was like, this is cool, but at the time I wasn't really playing. I didn't justify it. But I like building my cities. Before the green cities thing had popped up, I like building them as much with like wind power and solar power as I can. Mostly just because it's really annoying and labor intensive to try to set up a petroleum or coal based city, but that's more because I was being lazy. So I just cut corners for power everywhere.
How dare you?
So that way it made sense. But I jumped back in after the update, and the city I was playing at the time had this giant solar panel farm. Like, it was getting so much. Like, I had bought a whole square of land filling with solar power, and when it hit the night, my city lost power. I'm like, what the hell's going on? And it took me a while to realize, included in this free bit where when the sun's not out, your solar panels don't work.
Yep.
I mean, but and it makes sense, but it's just I didn't think that I would have to worry about that without having bought the DLC, but no, they threw that in there, and I was like, that's really cool. I really like that they added that. It sucks that I had to you know what? That's what save files are for.
My God.
But yeah, it was just really cool. So I'm interested to see what all the Green Cities is going to bring. I found that all of the DLCs, the ones that like aren't just giving you more buildings, the ones that actually give you more mechanics, I found that all of them have been well worth the sticker price. I got them all on sale anyway because Steam always has games on sale, and you can always find a game on sale on Steam. But they're very much worth the price to me. If you're the kind of person who's wanting to play these type of games, I think they're very much worth it. The Natural Disasters one is just, it's so much fun. It and I think Mass Transit, maybe Snowfall, all brought in this as well. So instead of just having sandbox mode where you build up your city, they would give you a city that would have a horrible problem that you had to fix within a certain amount of years, or you would fail, or if your population dipped below a certain level, you would fail. I think with the Natural Disasters, one of them is that there's an incoming comet or a meteor, and you have to.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's one of the disasters you get. Like you can just suddenly decide a meteor's going to strike.
Dinosaurs.
Final Fantasy.
Sephiroth.
If it hits the water, or if an earthquake happens in the water, a tsunami can appear. And sometimes it'll appear like way later on after the initial thing had happened. So that's fun in and of itself, but it's also like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Where's the tsunami coming from? It's a lot of fun though. It very much is a game that, as I said, you can be micromanaging, or you can just kind of be like plopping everything down and just see what happens. Smart enough where, at least in the general mode, not necessarily with the scenarios, but in the general mode, it's really hard to mess up your city without actively trying to sabotage it. Like, again, the people, they're going to try to do whatever's best for them to get around the city. Complaining, like if you raise the taxes too high, or, if they don't have enough educated workers and a business goes out of business, somebody else is going to come along and buy that spot and pop up a new business. Somebody's going to come along and move into that house. Somebody's going to... It's very smart. So it's kind of hard to really like wreck yourself in the game. It is possible. I've done it a couple times. But it's a peaceful micromanaging game, which I know to some people sounds like an oxymoron. But it really is.
I like to play these. Like, they can be pretty chill. Honestly,
listen to music.
Yeah, when you don't want explosions happening on screen and stuff.
But so we have a new DLC coming. It was announced on the 22nd. We don't have the date yet. Most of the other DLCs from announcement to release is anywhere from a month to 3 months. So end of the year, definitely we'll have it.
That's Mass Transit, right?
Green Cities. Mass Transit was the last one. Came out in May, I think like 18th of May or 19th of May or something like that. I was looking at that earlier, but I forgot the exact date that it came out at. But Green Cities is the new one. The one.
I don't know why I thought mass transit. You guys were just talking about that. It just blew my mind right there.
Well, mass transit. Actually, I only just picked it up over the weekend when I dove back into all this. Which the Green Cities ad actually. But mass transit. That was the one that started to introduce the ability to turn off, traffic lights and put in stop signs if you wanted, or it's a two-way road and you decide to throw in a stoplight even though it probably just needs a stop sign. So desired.
No, it's Chattanooga. Stoplights on all the 2-lane roads.
And you can now rename all the roads. Sorry, this is I'm gonna get really geeky for a moment. I was really excited when that introduced the idea that you can now actually name all your roads, because you could name the districts, you could name the buildings, you could even change the name of the household of the people that lived in there, but you couldn't name the roads. And now with that DLC, you could name the roads, and it made me so happy. I know it's a silly thing. It's definitely a quality of life thing, but I was happy that I could name the roads.
Oh my gosh! So how much is the new DLC going to be?
Let me see. I think it's $12.99.
That's not
I think
bad.
that's roughly how much they usually are. Yeah, $12.99. It's $13. And most of the big ones were that much. I think was like $8.99, and like the smaller ones are along the ones that just give you more buildings. They're along lines of $2.99, $1.99. I think there's one that's like $4.99, something like that. Yeah. So they're all smaller in cost, and again, they're not if you don't take it, you're missing out. It's literally just different kinds of buildings. Most of them aren't even, or they don't even add mechanic changes unless it's one of the big ones. It's $12.99. All correctly, I think that Steam actually has a current sale on them right now. Yeah, you can get them as a bundle for 9% off, which isn't a huge deal, but it is a deal. It's $30 right now on Steam. $29.99.
That's for everything?
No, that's just for the core
DLC.
game.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But the DLCs you can buy as a set. It just says 9% off. It doesn't actually give me the price, probably because I already have them all.
It's $80.
Well, it'd be about, let's see if it's 12 each, so that's about 48 for the 4 big ones.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, if you paid full price.
Yeah.
Which again, too, I mean, like that's together, that in and of itself, that's about $70. That's about how much a AAA title is with one DLC. That's one way you can look at it. This is when they're not on sale, or not on good sale, I should say. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's fun. I recommend it.
Sounds like a chill game.
Yep.
All right, everybody. This has been episode 23 of Podcast 5 Rings, your source of enlightenment in the realm of video games, tabletop, anime, film, and tech. Each episode of Podcast 5 Rings releases Monday mornings on iTunes and SoundCloud. Now topic by topic, day by day on YouTube, with the full video releasing on Fridays. Check us out on social media. On Twitter, we're at Podcast5R. Facebook, P5R Podcast. Meta Streaming, they're working on doing some stuff with cameras and getting some L5R and some board game stuff on their stream. So be sure to check them out. Twitch.tv/PSO Flow. Until next week, we will see you guys later.
Later.
Bye.
Bye-bye.